I can't imagine my life without faith and without God.
Family is my happy place. In this hustle culture, just step back and prioritize.
Friend can make you feel better no matter how bad the situation is.
Life is too short to be serious. Let's have fun.
Let's talk.
Looking at how not just this faith, family, friends, but then there's a fourth element that also adds to it, especially in today's generation, where this is the biggest topic out there in all over social media is finance. We're putting it in the form of 4F, so we're talking about finance here. Now, finance is, for us, we're talking about career, the job, the work. When we are growing up, all of us have dreams. Every time we are taught in school, everything that we are taught in school, college ends up in that, what do you want to become in life? And finally, that is what, till you die, we say, okay, this person was working in this company, this person was a HR, this person was a teacher. That profession defines so much about you at a certain point in life. So coming to the fourth F that makes life full is finance, which is your work and your career. So Akshata, you tell us, how does choosing a job that you love impact you in the long run?
I think the reality is this, that everybody doesn't really get the job that you actually wanted, because you study for something else, your entire education is based on something else, and then you end up doing something else. But I think for me, finding where your happiness lies in comes with no matter which job you have. And when I started off my career, I wasn't in teaching, and teaching was never an option all through my years. Through childhood, I never really had an option of teaching, though I'm sure all of us as kids, we would have played, but teaching was never really a career option that I had actually thought of. But when I got into the corporate world, I just thought to myself, whether this was what I wanted, and took up teaching only as an option to try out whether this worked for me. And it was not really something that I wanted, but I just wanted to experiment, like most of us do. We experiment different jobs to see what fits for us. But I think over the years, finding the job that you like, it's not about, choosing something that you like, because you're not always going to get what you want. But it's about, I've realized, it's finding joy in doing what is been given to you. And I think over the years, it's not really easy, as many people would say. Teaching is an easy job. But I think for me, what I've learned over the years is that where are you getting your joy from the job that you are doing? And for me, I feel where I get the joy is from what your students give back to you. At the end of the day, when you think about, are you satisfied with what you're doing? It is a tedious job. And there have been times where I felt, is it really worth it? Even though it was something that I really I like doing. But then I think what I realize is, where is the joy coming from the job that you are actually doing? And no matter what you do, if you are able to identify that joy in the work that you are doing, I think that helps you to continue doing what you like doing. Whether it's not what you actually wanted in the beginning, but finding that one thing. And I think through the hard days, it's not like it's always something that I've loved doing, but today I can say it's something that I really love doing because of what I get back. Looking at the lives you impact and looking at the lives you change just by being there sometimes for students, or by what you share with them, is something that gives you joy. But I think even in those days where I find that this is something really hard, with whether it's teaching or whatever it might be, I just try to think about, what am I learning in this situation? Is there something that's going to benefit me? And everything that I do, I just have this one motto in my mind, is everything you do, do it for the glory of God, whether it's something you like or whether it's something you don't like. So every time I find that hard thing to do, even though it's a job I love doing and I would not want to give it up, I just have this one thing saying that even if it is the smallest thing, whether I like it or not, do it because you're doing it for God. And I think over the years, I've started loving the job more because I tried to find the joy in the simplest things that I'm doing. And I think that joy keeps me going, and I don't mind doing or continuing in this path, even if it's going to be for the next few years. So, yeah.
I think that is something that so many of us have to hear, because a lot of people just run behind money and they say, okay, I need to just keep up with society's expectations. But finding the joy in whatever work we do is absolutely important. And Diana, you tell us that in this entire hustle and bustle culture that we are in, I think everyone's in a rat race, whether whichever profession you take. I don't think in this generation anybody can say one job is less stressful and the other job is more stressful, because I think every single profession, there's so much of hustle and bustle. How do you balance work, family, faith, and just life in general in this hustle and bustle culture?
Like you were just saying, I think there's a lot of social pressure in today's context, right? And also, we live in an environment where everything is very capitalistically driven, meaning everything is after money. Money defines your status, the goods you carry, the products you wear, everything is defined in terms of money, right? I think in such a world, especially when you begin to prioritize, I think that word really stands out to me. Because I'm someone, being in the teaching profession, um, do not bring work back home. That's like a rule for me. Because today, after the pandemic, we have work from home, and that's a blessing also in a family like mine, because my husband has stepped up. And the only thing that we always discuss is, as individuals, there will be times in your life where you'll need to step back or you need to step up. So don't succumb to a lot of the pressure that the world is giving you, but rather, again, very biblically, again, going back to the book of Galatians, right? There's no difference between who a Gentile is, or a Jew is, or a circumcised or an uncircumcised, a man or a woman, right? But here, there is a sense of equality that the Bible also talks about. And I think in my own family, we, as um, a couple, right, we've decided that there were times when my husband had to step up, and there were times when I had to step back at that point in time. And family was not doing great financially in worldly, according to worldly standards, but we lived very happily, right? And I think that mattered a lot. And like you were saying, that there's a lot of pressure in terms of the rat race that we have to fall trap to, right? It's okay to step back, and you will still lead a life that is pleasing in God's sight. And the works that your hand do will be a blessing wherever you are, right? And I think that is something that I live by, especially in a world where everybody is after money. Money is important, right? It is very essential, especially as women also. I'm sure many young girls are listening to this. It gives you a lot of independence, freedom to do what you really have to do. But there are also times in your life when you can live in submission, right? Both as a man and a woman. And I think that really enables you. So for me, if you would ask me how I balance, I know what I want because I have stepped back and thought about what I really want. And I think today people don't find the time to step back and ponder about what they want itself in life. And I think that again comes back to your time with God, your quiet time, your how are you spending the day itself? Are you caught up in everything that you're doing, or are you stepping back to realize what do you actually want, and what are you doing with your life that is pleasing in God's sight, right? And I think for me, I'm very clear that it is a family, my church, my community, and definitely my child. And I think somehow, like I always keep saying, God just fulfills, because he knows what your desires are, and I think he steps in when you take that little effort itself.
So, so true. I don't know how many of you all had to listen to this point of just stepping back, pausing in this just hustle and bustle and this hurry, like everything we need to get done so fast, just to pause to see what you have to prioritize. I think balancing work and life in this generation is all about prioritizing. And I also completely agree with your, the way you prioritize. Even for me, it's always God, family, friends, and then work. And I think God has just been so good helping us balance this equation so beautifully. So, as we were talking about money, it is important. Nobody can say that, okay, we'll just have faith, family, friends, and we are all sorted in life. Of course, all of us need finances, we need money, we need our jobs, we need careers. So, shall you tell, money is important, but how do you choose a job that you wouldn't regret? And also, how did you go about doing this, finding that financial stability, but also choosing something that you love doing now?
Out of desperation. Honestly, out of desperation. Right after college, after all of us graduated, all of you had jobs. I was sitting at home. I had definitely excuses like I was preparing for UPSC, I was taking care at home of my grandparents, all of that. But there are times, where we would meet up and we would go to restaurants, or even for the fact that we wanted to go out for a trip. And I would be like, where's the money? And at that point in time, when you're 21, 22, you're like, how do you go and ask your parents for money? And that's it kept coming back, like Diana said, society's expectation, like everyone's earning, why am I not earning? How do I stand in that kind of scenario? And it's not like as if I got a job. I still went ahead, did my master's. I was still jobless up until my 20 up until I was 25, I guess. And it's only then that I got a job. And I think my first job was really out of desperation. I had so many prayers saying I really wanted like a specific job that I really love, and I didn't get it. I applied and I didn't get it. And finally, there was this one person who, from some connection, said, "Okay, there's an opening, just come." And I was like, "Okay, let's just do it." And at that point in time, my thing is, if I earn a little, it's more than enough. I don't want anything else. I would just be happy with that money, right? But the stress, there was no work-life balance. And I think this is something that everyone goes through, and it's rampant in news. You see that everywhere these days about how people can't deal with the fact that we are so stressed out because of work. We don't have time to give for ourselves, for our family, for church, for community, nothing. It's just work, work. 20 out of 24 hours, we are thinking about work 48 hours. That's how we've become. And so when I quit my first job, I I made a very conscious choice. One was to submit, like I said, my thing is submit to God in prayer. And I had like a list of things that I really wanted in a job. I wasn't very specific about what type of job it was supposed to be. I was more specific about what I wanted out of that job. Money was one, definitely, but my thing was I needed work life balance. I needed time to spend with my family. I needed time for myself. I needed time where I could go out, spend with friends. I wanted a manager who was appreciative of the work that I was doing. And it was not the fact that I wanted awards and rewards and stuff. It's just a very small thing that, okay, the work that I have done is seen as the work that I have done, not by someone else. And that's some of the things that I really wanted. And I'm pretty sure that's something that a lot of people want right now in their jobs as well. And that's what I submitted to God. And that's what I got. And I'm now on my second, I finished my second, my third, but both my jobs were specific to those requests. I never went after saying, God, I want this much amount of money. I want this thing. I want that thing. No, my thing was I needed time where I can spend with you. I can spend with my family. I can spend with my friends, and that's it. That's happy for me. That's happiness for me, and that's what I wanted when it came to choosing my job and loving the job that I have. But the second thing would be to be open to exploring. Like I said, I was not very specific about the type of job that I wanted to do. I did commerce and then I went to economics. And what I'm doing right now, strategy, is nothing related to what I studied. And again, if you see what I'm doing right now is nothing related to the first two jobs. I was doing finance, then I was doing risk, I'm doing strategy now, and there's no correlation. I think you need to be more open to exploring opportunities, making sure that you grow in that career. And you're for sure you're going to find something that you love. And once you find that thing that you love, that job that you love, you just grow into it. That's it. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I'm sure everybody will have a different answer on how did you, find a job that you love and how can we be so appreciative. But I think that one thing that you said is when you submitted those specific things, and I'm sure everybody listening can also do this, right? Something very doable. Just say, what do you want out of this job? Not just just get a job, get that money, but what do you want? And I'm sure God will make it work in such a way that we can get the money also, as well as do a job that you love. But thanks for sharing. And to Chantal, this is one question that I'm sure a lot of you people have asked you this even in the past, but I want to reiterate this question to you to tell us about how do you deal with work pressure? And with so much of work pressure, also trying to manage and live a full, happy life that we're talking about is so hard in this days. And a lot of people just give up. A lot of people are having health issues, and there's so many things that are related to this work, which drains a lot of from us in our life. So you tell us, how do you deal with work pressure, and how do you live a happy life still?
So, like we mentioned, every career has work pressure. I feel like it's not like this career because you're in this career, there you'll have more work pressure. Each of us deal with it differently. For me personally, this happened to me 2 years back. So I'm a consultant, so IT consultant to be specific. So 2 years back, I was put in a project where the entire team was Filipinos. They were from the Philippines, and I was the only Indian supporting from India. So, and I didn't have a bad manager. It was a good team, good colleagues. But of course, there was language issues, cultural issues. They were so comfortable with themselves. I was almost like alone here supporting from India. And there was so much work pressure because when I say work pressure, it was just the work itself demanded me. I would log in at 11 a.m. and I think I would log off by 12 a.m., 1 a.m. So I would work for that 13 hours, 14 hours, 15 hours, and this is on a daily basis, Monday to Friday. And I think in that process of the 2 years of being in that project, I know my health took a toll, my sleep cycle took a toll, because there were days I would log off at 2 a.m. and by the time I'm not getting sleep till 4 a.m. So I've gone through that. But there was one thing that even through this work pressure, this life which demanded 14, 15 hours of just me giving. There were days I would just sit in front of my laptop. Even for lunch, I would just take 5 minutes lunch break and come back and work. But through this, there was one thing I think I definitely did, and I'm sure we spoke about it earlier, is prioritize. I think for me, my weekends, I made sure I did what I love. There was no work carried forward. I've never worked on a weekend. That was something I told my manager on a very early stage when they were telling me, can you work even and support on weekend? I said, no. Weekend is for church. So I always really, because we were volunteers at church, we had a lot of church commitments. So I said, no. And so I put that boundary, and even though I was a junior in the team, so I put that boundary. So I made sure I stuck to it. So for me, I just did what I love. So for me, my weekend especially, I think I gave my full commitment for church and family and friends. These three, I never compromised. It was tough. If you ask me, did it get to you? Yeah, there was a point because I remember maybe in that 2 years, one or two functions where I had to skip during the weekday. Weekends, there was no functions I skipped, but weekdays, I would skip one or two functions because I had a lot of work. But most of the times, even through the stress, I would carry my laptop and still make sure I go to my friend's place, or I would go to my sister's home, would be work out of there, just so that I be with my family, I be with my nephew, I just be with my friends when we met up. You all have seen that times when I used to carry my laptop everywhere. But there was something that was during the weekdays, but weekends was always for family, friends, and for God. And I think that priority, I think everybody, whoever's going through work pressure, work life. I think that balance, it's very difficult, especially I would say in your starting stage of your career, because sometimes you're scared to tell no to your boss. You're scared out there, what are they going to tell? Oh my God, are they going to not give me my hikes? They're not going to give me my bonus. But trust me, it's happened in my life. And this is, I'm working in this huge MNC where all this is very common, but people do respect that boundaries you keep. So I think to have that full happy life, yes, you will have work pressure, but definitely prioritize yourself, prioritize God, your family, your friends. Do what you love. I used to go for trips. I never skipped family vacations. We still did staycations on weekends, on long holidays, public holidays. We would go out as a family. I would never ever work on public holidays. So those are things I did. And I think for me, that's why even through that stressful work life, I could still have a full life.
I know a lot of a lot of us may not be able to relate to it, because like how you're carrying a laptop and yet you're having a full life. But like what you said, that boundaries, setting boundaries is so important. And I think like what all of us were just talking about work and this element of finance to have a full life, it is so important that you prioritize your faith, family, and friends. Work is definitely going to be a part of your life, but it is not the end of life. And I'm sure all of us will be looking at this.